Hey everyone, I've been wanting to do some more film-related book videos on this channel, but I'm a bit of a slow reader. It takes me a long time to kind of get through a book, so I haven't been doing very many of those, but I, like many people, have been a huge fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and recently the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood book came out. So I've torn through it at my own pace, of course, and wanted to do a little video about my thoughts on it. This is going to be a spoiler video. My friend Frank, who you may know from the Frank's List videos, he suggested that I do a spoiler-free and spoiler video, so two different videos, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm just gonna go whole hog and just do all spoilers throughout this. So if you have not read the book, if you wanna go in fresh, probably turn this video off right now. So that's your chance, that's your warning. From here on out, there will be spoilers. So this was genuinely a great experience. I think it probably helps that I was such a huge fan of the movie, but being able to read this book really helped flesh out the characters and the story a little bit more in a way that, like the best film novelizations do. You know, you get your opportunity to get more than what's on the screen. And Tarantino does it in a way where everything just feels kind of natural. Most of the time, film novelizations are written by book writers, novel writers. They're usually not written by the people who write the script for the movie. So you get some differences there. And obviously in every novelization, they're going to expand on the story and sometimes change the story in ways to sort of like give it a more novel-like approach, if that makes sense. And Tarantino definitely did this. There's some scenes that have been changed around. There's some scenes that have been added, some scenes omitted. There are characters that get more of an opportunity to shine in this than they did in the movie. You know, Steve McQueen, who is in the movie, I think for maybe like one scene, the Playboy Mansion scene, is in a little bit more of the book, and he gets talked about more, and you get to understand why Steve McQueen and Rick Dalton are sort of like, why there's that parallel, more than just like, oh, Rick had the chance to get the Great Escape and he didn't, you know, Steve McQueen got it. There's sort of a broader parallel there, and Tarantino dives into that. There's also characters like Trudy, who plays Marabella Lancer on Lancer. Her character gets an opportunity to be fleshed out a little bit more, and actually it's really intriguing to me what Tarantino did with her. He really took the sort of like, I am an actor thing to like even farther, you know, farther into almost like ridiculousness in a way, I think, which made me laugh. I thought it was really funny. You get to know Rick and Cliff more. That's one big thing. I'm still kind of undecided on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, Cliff, especially in the movie, is kind of an enigma. You know, he's very cool, he's very laid back, but he doesn't talk very much. And, you know, in the book, you're like getting their inner thoughts and their inner feelings about things. And you realize that like Cliff, in a way, is like, I mean, he's kind of borderline like a monster. In a way, like I don't know, maybe monster is going too far, but and Rick is definitely like much more of an a-hole in the book, basically because like you know what he's thinking about people. You know, in the movie he kind of keeps his emotions to himself, you know, like a lot of men from that era did. And in the book, you read those inner emotions, so you know what he's thinking about everybody and about everything. And you sort of realize that the guy is he's very bitter about the things that have happened to him in his life. And, you know, I get it. You know, I think there's a line in the movie where he says, you know, 10 years of ascent, 5 years kind of like floating at the top or whatever, and then now it's nothing but downhill. I mean, that's not the exact line, but it's something along those lines. And you felt a bit of that in the movie, and then the book like really fleshes it out, I think. But the book gives Rick more of a journey, you know. He starts in a certain place and he ends at a completely different place, I think. Maybe not a completely different place, but definitely in a different place. The book does not focus as much on Sharon and Roman. We do get a few extra scenes with them, but they are not really like fleshed out any more than they are in the movie. And I think in a way that that's good. The story really is Rick and Cliff. And I do think that tipping it too much to Sharon takes away some of that mystique, you know, too much to Sharon and Roman. I know that I've read some criticism online about the book. Does it sort of erase the history of Roman Polanski, or does it sort of forgive Roman Polanski? And the book is, I would say, reverent of Roman Polanski, but you got to remember that at the time, during the time frame that this book is taking place, you know, this is pre-Chinatown, pre his raping an underage girl, basically. So I don't think that it's, when you look at the historical context of it, I don't think it's out of context for people to be looking at him reverently, because that's what they were doing. You know, after Rosemary's Baby, he was the hot ticket, and people did look at him reverently, and people did want to be like him. So I don't think that the book erases anything, mainly because those events haven't happened yet. Maybe some people feel complicated about that, and that's okay. Like, you can feel complicated about that. But yeah, to that end, like, I don't think that the book erases anything. One thing that I really, truly loved about this book is that there's 2 chapters in it where Tarantino basically gives the Lancer backstory, but he writes it as a novel. Like he writes it like real chapters in a novel. So you're not getting the Lancer, you're not getting the backstory of Lancer, the TV show. You're getting the backstory of Lancer as though it was real life, as though this was a book. And to be perfectly honest with you, like, it kind of made me want like a Lancer book. It kind of made me want Tarantino to write the Lancer book. I already want him to write, you know, the Ride a Wild Bronco or whatever, the Easy Breezy, Tom Breezy book. And they've actually got there's actually an ad for it here in the very back of the book. You can see it. Sorry, this side. And just seeing the ad and the mock-up and everything just makes me want it even more. It's like, I want that book. Give me the Easy Breezy book. I'll take it. The Lancer stuff, I think, was really well written, and it A, made me want the Lancer book, and B, it really made me want him to do a Hateful Eight novelization. And I'm really hoping that maybe someone in his inner circle suggests that to him, maybe that thought comes across his mind, because wouldn't it be amazing to get the backstories of those Hateful Eight characters in the same way that he does with this? I think the biggest reason that people are going to want to read this is because it does go into much more detail about Cliff Booth, who he is, where he's been, what he's done. And those details are interesting. And honestly, like, Tarantino probably could have made the whole book about Cliff and it would have been amazing. I was thrilled to read all of the chapters about Cliff. Love Rick too, but Cliff has definitely led an interesting life, and it does answer the, which, I mean, honestly, if you're watching this video by now, you already know what the answer to the question is. Did he murder his wife? You know, since this is a spoiler video, yes, he did. The whole history of this man is like so complex, and it's complicated, you know, as far as like, I don't think Cliff was ever meant to be portrayed as a good person. You know, he just is who he is. You know, I don't know that Rick is ever meant to be particularly portrayed as like a good person. Sharon, I think, is, you know, and Roman to an extent is, but I don't think that Cliff and Rick are particularly meant to be seen as like Tarantino is trying to say like, oh no, these are good people. These are good people. Like, no, they're complicated people. They've done bad things, you know? And you know, that's part of what makes the novel interesting. Criticism wise, I don't know that I really have anything that I would complain about this book. There is one chapter where Cliff, Rick, and Jim Stacy go to a bar, like after they finish shooting the Lancer pilot, or at least like the first day of the Lancer pilot. They go to this bar in San Gabriel, and that chapter is like a little, like, it kind of feels like an aside to the whole story. I will say that there is one like very touching moment in that chapter where they're talking to, all three of them are in this bar and they're talking to the bar's piano player, and the piano player mentions my son Quentin. And you know that Quentin is Tarantino, and the guy is meant to be a stand-in for his stepfather, who he was a musician and, you know, he had a pretty good relationship with, from everything that I understand. The only other thing that I would complain about, honestly, is just the amount of the amount of obscenities does kind of feel like it goes overboard. You know, it's like, you know that you're going to get a lot of, you know that you're going to get a lot of and you know, all that stuff out of a Tarantino, you know, out of something from Tarantino's mind. But it's like, it just feels like it kind of goes beyond excessive in the book, you know, to a point where you're like, more shits, more like, it's a lot, you know. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Stylistic choice, I guess. The last thing that I wanted to say about this book, and since this is a spoiler review, I can say this, is there was something on the second to last page that really struck me, because to me, like, what I get out of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is Rick Dalton is this guy who, you know, he has a dream. He's looking for success. He's been working to find it. And he got to a certain level and then he plateaued. And now, no matter how hard he tries, he feels like he's going downhill again. And this is definitely not in the film, but there's this really touching paragraph that it's at the very end of the book, second to last page. And it says, and for the first time in 10 years, Rick realizes how fortunate he is and was. All the wonderful actors he's worked with through the years, Meeker, Bronson, Coburn, Morrow, McGavin, Robert Blake, Glenn Ford, Edward G. Robinson. All the different actresses he got to kiss, all the affairs he had, all the interesting people he got to work with, all the places he got to visit, all the fun stories he got to live, all the times he saw his name and picture in the papers and magazines, all the nice hotel rooms, all the fuss people made over him, all the fan mail he never read, all the times driving through Hollywood as a citizen in good standing. He looks around at the fabulous house he owns, paid for by doing what he used to do for free when he was a little boy, pretending to be a cowboy. I'll be really honest with you, like, that was super powerful for me. Like, I got emotional when I read that, because to me, I feel like I see parallels in my story and Rick's story. Not that I've ever reached the heights in this industry that Rick ever did, but, you know, I've been working in it for, roughly about 15 years. And I've gotten to work on some cool projects and gotten to do some cool things and meet some great people. and meet celebrities and do all kinds of things. And, you know, when you have a dream, sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees, and all you see is the dream is not completely fulfilled. And reading that paragraph in this book just really helped put me into perspective. And that alone, honestly, if nothing else, made reading the entire book worth it. So the book is great. I loved it. It's a great companion to the movie. I will say that I think I like the movie better than I like the book. But it's kind of like six one way, half a dozen another. I mean, it's like by I like it better. It's like I like it like this much better. It's so little difference. It almost doesn't matter. So would I recommend it? Absolutely. The Once Upon a Time in Hollywood novelization by Quentin Tarantino is fantastic. And if you love the movie, I highly recommend the book. That's it. Hopefully there's going to be more, you know, videos about film related books. The biggest one that I'm reading right now is called The Big Goodbye, and it's about the making of Chinatown. Roman Polanski again, Nicholson, Robert Towne. I'm probably almost halfway through it, and it's fantastic. I love it so far, but we'll hopefully I'll do a video and get a little bit more into it. Until next time, thanks for watching.